Hi, this is Steve here from A470RC Soaring, and this is a viewer request video. Some time ago, I was out flying with my Dynaflite Bird of Time, and I was up on a slope, and the wind was a light breeze, but whilst I was up flying, the wind quickly picked up, which it often does. In the area where I live, you can be out flying and the wind can pick up very quickly, and it did, and it was okay. It managed to handle it in flying, but when I landed, and I'll put a card up here so you can link back to that video. When it landed, it flipped over, and unfortunately it's done a bit of damage. Now, one of the hinges on the rudder is broken, which I've still got to repair. But also it's weakened the fuselage. So if you can see there, right along there, you see how it's weakened that bit of fuselage, and then underneath there as well. So I'm going to make a repair to that today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rub down that area, and I'm going to put some glass fibre. So I've got some very light glass fibre cloth, which I'm going to use just to help beef it up. It doesn't need anything too coarse. Because it's not completely cracked, the fuselage, but it just needs a bit of added extra strength there. So it's a miserable day outside. It's drizzling, it's horrible, and so I thought this would be the ideal time to get this done, and get it done in time for the vintage glider meet that we've got locally in the middle of June. So let's crack on, and you can follow the process. Okay, so I've rubbed down the area using starting off with a coarse sandpaper, and then going gradually down to a fine sandpaper. So that's all nice and smooth now. The next thing is I need to brush on some epoxy onto this area, all around this area here, and then that needs to leave to almost set. I just want it so it's just tacky. So once that's brushed on, I'm gonna have to leave it, go and do other things, and then come back to it later. Okay, so I have my laminating epoxy and my slow hardener, and it needs to be mixed at a ratio of 100 resin to 30 hardener. So I'm going to mix 10 grams of epoxy to 3 grams of hardener. So got it on the scales. Nearly. There we go. There's 10. Oh, just a bit more. Okay, and then 3 grams. Here we go. Okay. And then what I need to do is I'm going to use one of the sticks that you get from coffee shops for stirring your coffee. So I'm going to use that now to mix up the hardener. So give that a good old mix up there. Make sure it's all mixed in properly. Let's turn the scales off. There we go. Let's put those out of the way. Give it a really good mix up. And as I say, once I've brushed this on, it's probably going to take about 4 hours to get to the stage where it's tacky. And then once it's tacky, I can lay on the glass fiber cloth. Okay, I think that's pretty much mixed in. And I've got a brush here somewhere. There we go. Okay, I'm just going to brush a thin layer onto the epoxy. So I'm going to brush a thin layer onto the fuselage. So that's the epoxy, quite tacky. It's been about 3.5 hours, and it's now time to add the glass fiber cloth. So I'm going to wrap that around there and then brush it over with more epoxy. Okay, so that's the glass fiber mat now applied over the fuselage and brushed over with more epoxy. So the next thing I need to do is I've got some plastic heat shrink tape. Now it's not a sticky tape, but it does have a release agent on the inside of the tape. So what I'm going to do now is wind this around and around, okay, keeping it tight, and then I'm going to use a heat gun on it to shrink it, and that is going to squeeze out the excess epoxy and should leave it with a smooth finish also. And then once it's dried, I'll leave that overnight now until tomorrow, and then once it's dried, I can remove the heat shrink tape. So let's sort of wind it around. Like this. Tight as I go along. And just overlapping it a little bit. This method is ideal for those models that have got a carbon fiber boom, except of course you wouldn't be using glass fiber. Well, you could use glass fiber, but you would use carbon, but it's ideal method for carbon fiber booms. So that's that. The tape hasn't stuck down very well there. Let's do that. Let's cut a little bit more tape just to stick it down at the other end. Okay. So that's the tape wound around it, and as you can see, it's already squeezing some of the epoxy out of the glass fibre. You can actually see the epoxy starting to drip out of it. Okay, so there we go. I've taken the tape from off the top, and yeah, it does look a right mess at the moment. But the next job is to start rubbing that down and get rid of all that excess epoxy. And then once that's done, we can move on. So there we go. That is the repair completed, all done. Could maybe do with maybe a little bit more sanding. I'll have a look, but I got to put some spray filler on there and paint it. And then it's all done. It's good as new. I mean, the fuselage on this thing, if you squeeze it, it's proper squidgy, you know, but then it's not circular, it's an oval shape, you know, but it is quite down the sides. You can feel it. The main part of the damage was the fact that the gel coat had cracked and broken off, but that's all filled in now with glass fibre, and should be a good repair that will last a good while, if not forever. Almost. These things never last forever, do they? Anyway, the next time you see this, hopefully it will be flying in the air. So wish me luck on that. I haven't mentioned anything about the weight, and I actually meant to weigh this before and after the repair. But I reckon if there's a gram of weight on there, I'll be lucky. I doubt very much if it'll affect the CG too much, maybe a little bit. I might have to just adjust it slightly, but other than that. So there we go, a job all done. Got to move on to the next repair now, whichever that one is. There's a bit of a queue. Anyway, look, I hope you've enjoyed this video, showing you that if you've not made this kind of repair before, that it is pretty easy and straightforward. And I'll let you into a little secret. That's the first time I've done this. So I'm quite pleased with myself and the way it's turned out. And if I can do it, you can do it. Don't be scared. There's a link to the company where I got the epoxy from, Easy Composites. And the link I'll put on is actually for a repair kit to repair a fishing rod or fishing pole, a carbon fibre. But the principles still apply with this. You could just buy that kit because it's got absolutely everything in it that you need to make this repair. I just happen to have everything anyway, other than the tape, the heat shrink tape. And I bought that from Easy Composites. I'll put a link down below to that. And on that link, also, there's a video showing you how to make the repair. And that's all I did. I just followed the instructions from that video. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had a clue to how to have done it. There is also a link. If I can find it again, I'll put it on there. There's another YouTube channel called Flight Comp, a guy called Ollie in the USA, who's an F5J competition flyer, and it shows him making a repair. And he did it in a very similar way to me, except that he's used carbon, but also his was a boom, so he used a heat shrink tube instead of the tape. But otherwise, it was very similar. So if I can find that link, then I'll put that down below as well. So as I say, I hope you enjoyed it. If you've got a repair like this to do, don't be afraid. Get on, do it, and I'm sure you'll be very pleased with the results, just as I am. So until next time, happy flying.